Hi, my name's Daniel Platt. Are you a complete novice when it comes to the terminal? Maybe you want more confidence. Even if you're not, we'll be going through how to open up your terminal, showing you various ways to customize it. And by the end of the course, you'll feel confident enough to make your own changes to your terminal. I look forward to seeing you on the course. Hello everyone, my name's Daniel. I'd like to welcome you to my introductory course called Tweak Your Mac Terminal. Some of the things we're going to go over is to introduce you to Brew, how to use Brew to search for and install applications, how to upgrade applications with Brew, troubleshooting when things go wrong, and finally we're going to be customizing our terminal with some ideas. In this course I'm going to walk you through the process of installing Brew all the way to the end result of having your terminal customized. The goal of the course is that you'll be able to make your own customizations with the skills that I teach you. Thank you for watching this introduction, and I look forward to seeing you in the next lecture. If you're thinking about taking this course and how to customize your terminal, then there's a few requirements you'll need. You'll need an Apple computer with an Intel CPU, and you'll need at least macOS 10.11. That will either be El Capitan, Sierra, High Sierra, or the newly announced Mojave. You can install it on 10.8 or later, but it's on a best effort basis. And if you've got 10.7 or below, then there's an alternative installation. If you're using an Apple computer that's made in the last 5 years, you should be okay. I'm currently using an Apple computer from 2011 without any problems. If you're taking this course, then the chances are you haven't customized your terminal yet, or you should be using the default shell bash. The last requirement is that you should be connected to the internet. This is because Brew is a package manager. When you initially install it, you're not actually downloading all the files possible, you're just downloading the pointers to them. So when you install something, you're going to need to allow it to download it, and then install it to your computer. But we'll talk about this in more detail in other lectures. I'll see you in the next lecture. The Mac terminal is overlooked, yet it's very powerful. With the Mac terminal, you do not have the distractions of a graphical user interface. All of the upcoming lectures show you a different way to use the Mac terminal. So for most of them, you will not need to close down your terminal between lectures. Before we move on, I need to show you how to open up the terminal. First, open a new Finder window and use that to navigate to the application folder. Inside the application folder, you will see the Utilities folder. The Utilities folder is where the terminal lives. Double-click the terminal application to open it. Once terminal has launched, you can make it full screen by clicking the green traffic light button. This is the Mac terminal. You can type a command, "Who am I?" to display your current username. Then you can list the contents of a directory with the ls command. You can press Command and K to clear the terminal window. This is something I'll be using a lot of. The up arrow key cycles back through the previous commands you've typed, and the down arrow key cycles forward until the last one. You can also move the cursor left and right if you've missed a character when typing. If you want to move to the beginning of the line, then it's Ctrl+A and Ctrl+E to move to the end. When you start a new lecture, you will need to have the terminal open already, as every lecture will be using this terminal window. So let's show you how to keep the terminal in the dock. Right-click the terminal icon and select Options, and then click Keep in Dock. Now your terminal icon will be easily clickable. I'll see you in the next lecture. The Mac terminal. Can you see it? It's easy to think that everyone has perfect eyesight. Or maybe you find the contrast of this black on white too jarring. Well, the terminal comes with some preset defaults, and let's explore those now. So if you go to New tab, these are all the defaults that you can use. I'm using the basic one. Even this, the basic template, has been modified slightly to make the font sizes show up better on video. So let's try some of them out. You've got the grass one, Homebrew, which is one I use at work a lot. So if any of these stand out and that you like them, but maybe they're not quite right, what you can do is you can go into the preferences, and this is the same list. And what you can do is you can duplicate a particular profile that you like. So let's go with Homebrew, duplicate my template, and then you can make changes. Maybe the green's too green, or maybe if it's slightly more bluey. And you have complete control. You also can change the fonts. So by default you can make the font a lot bigger, which is probably the most useful thing that people will end up doing. I think the default I've set is 36. And if you didn't like the font, then you can change that. But you've got to be careful with the fonts, because you need something called monospace fonts. And that's things like Courier. In the next lecture, I'll summarize the font issue for you. But let's say that this is actually fine. If you want all your new tabs to be this, then you click default, and then every new tab you do with Apple N, it will do that template. You can still choose the other ones, but now that is your new default. I'm going to put mine back to the basic one. If you made a mistake with one of your things, you've gone horribly wrong and you don't like it, what you can do is you can hit this minus symbol and it will delete it. And then you can just start again. You can duplicate the profile and start from unknown. I wouldn't recommend editing these, because then you'll end up. I'll see you in the next lecture.
The easiest way to install Homebrew, or Brew for short, is to grab the command from their website, brew.sh. But before we install Brew, we need to install Xcode command line tools. In Terminal, type xcode-select-install, and an installation dialog will open, asking you if you would like to install the tools now. You'll need to click Install and agree to the terms and conditions. The installer will now download and set up the tools for you. Right now we can get back to installing Brew. Let's go back to Brew's website. The command is very simple, but it will set up Brew on your Mac. All you need to do is copy and paste that command into Terminal. When you run it, the script will confirm exactly what it will be doing. If you are happy with the process, then hit Enter. Brew will now be installing. You may be prompted for your password if the script requires it to start installation. Once everything is installed, we'll run a few commands, double check that everything has been installed correctly. The command brew doctor will give the Brew install a quick checkup, and Brew update will confirm that everything downloaded correctly and that Brew is up to date. Now you have a fully working Brew environment. I'll see you in the next lecture. In the previous lecture, you installed Brew. Now, there's not much point to Brew unless you can install other applications. But how do you know what to install? Well, Brew Search. That's going to allow you to search for applications by name. If you know roughly it starts with like a letter or a few, you can type those in and it helps you narrow down to what you're after. So an example would be searching for the text editor Nano. The Mac comes with an old version, you could install a later version. So you just type in Brew, search, Nano. Something I use a lot in web development is an application called PHP. That comes with loads of different modules, it comes with different versions. Sometimes you need to install more than one version.
So you could do a search for PHP. You could do a slightly more targeted version and say you're only interested in PHP 7.1. So you do Brew search PHP 7.1. Now, I've shown you how you can use Brew search to find applications to install. However, this is only useful if you know what you want to install. What about if you don't know the name, or what you're searching for is in the description of the command and not in the title? I use a website called brewmeister.org. I hope I'm saying that right. And this allows searching for name or description, but it also gives you a full description as well as a home page and what version something's at. It'll also give you an idea of what depends on it and what you'll be installing when you install it. And another nice feature is you can see all the formula history down the bottom. So you can see when it was last updated. So you get an idea of when a particular package has potentially been abandoned or not. So anyway, between using Brew Search or Brewmeister, you should be able to find the package you're looking for. I'll talk more about Brew later on, and I'll see you in the next lecture. In this course, we'll do a fair bit of file editing. Now, you have TextEdit. However, this is designed for writing and not any kind of scripts. You'll only end up with weird errors if you use it. I'm going to recommend a command called nano. This is built into the macOS, so we won't need to install it. You can start nano by typing nano on the command line, but I prefer to use it by typing nano and then the file I want to edit. At the bottom of the window, you can see all the commands that are supported. There's also help that lists even more commands. And just remember, caret means control, capital M means press escape. Press Ctrl X to leave help. So how do you use the editor? You can just start by typing like you would any other text editor. Now your mouse won't work in here, so you'll have to use the arrow keys if you want to move around. And finally, press Ctrl X to exit, and press Y followed by the return key to save your file to the disk. That is all there is to it. If you're really not happy about editing in Terminal, you can install an application called Text Wrangler from the App Store. You would open a file like this, open-a/applications/textwrangler.app, and then the name of the file. In the rest of this course, I'll only refer to nano for editing, but you can substitute this command. Now you know the basics for editing a file, we can move on. See you in the next lecture. What I tend to use a lot of, because of my Ubuntu background, is the command ll. It prints a list of files in your current directory. This is the output of ls by default on your macOS. And let's compare that to the output of ll on Ubuntu. Hopefully you can see the benefits for setting this alias up. So how can we set it up without writing our own version? Well, ll really is the command ls, with a few arguments added. You can achieve that with aliasing. You tell your terminal, bash, that whenever it sees a given command, it should run this other command. Currently, Ubuntu uses the parameters AL_F, but I like to use a modified version that includes human-readable file sizes. So you end up with the arguments AL_F_H. To find out more about these arguments, type in the command man ls, and that will show you the manual page for the ls command, and that will show you all the parameters that are supported by ls. To explain the arguments that I'm using, the -A is for all files including those starting with a full stop. By default, Unix and Linux machines and now macOS will hide the dot files because they used to have special meaning and some still do. -L is for a long list.
Capital F will display a symbol next to the file to let you know what type of file it is. Some of the symbols include / for directory, asterisk for an executable, and the @ symbol for a symbolic link. There are others. These are the ones you'll like to come across during everyday usage. And -H is for human readable file sizes. All those arguments you can just paste into the terminal to test them. Once you're happy with the arguments you've chosen, then becomes the time to set up your alias. So I'm going to show you how to set that up now. Open up your bash profile and type in alias ll equals single quote ls space -a l capital F h single quote, or the arguments you've selected. Save this file. Now, when you open up a new terminal, your alias will work perfectly. But what if you want to get it working for your current terminal? Then you'll need to rerun your bash profile with source space / .bash _ profile. That's it for aliasing. If you think of any useful aliases, then tell us about them below. I'll see you in the next lecture. When you open a new terminal prompt, there's not really a lot that's interesting about it. You have when you last logged in and your prompt. The first thing I like to do is give my terminal some customization. How about a nice inspirational fortune cookie? For this, we just type brew install fortune. If you put that command in your bash profile, now when you log in, you'll get a different quote. Okay, maybe they aren't that inspirational. So how could we improve on that? How about we put it inside a speech bubble? There's an application for that as well. It's called Customising. So let's install that. Just brew install Customising. What is Customising? It's just a simple application that puts some text in a speech bubble, by default for a cow. There are other options. So you could find more information by doing man cow say. So what does this tell us? You can do cow say or cow think. Let's try that with cow think. So there you go, a cow speech bubble and a cow thought bubble. So what else can you do? There are different types of animals you can use. I happen to know what the path is for the other characters. It's USR local share cows. So if you hit double tab, it will show you all the files that can be used. There you go, I've got a penguin. Or maybe I want a sheep. So, could we do anything useful with this? We could have some fun and pipe the fortune message in. Pipe is just a vertical bar that says take the output of this command and use it as the input for this next command. Maybe animal speech bubbles aren't your thing. If you're into ASCII art, then you can install something called Figlet. This will convert text into ASCII art. Here's an example of Figlet being used to generate some ASCII art. There are loads of different styles, or fonts, to choose from. Luckily, there's a handy command that lists them along with their example text. The command is show fig fonts. So let's try that with the computer font. You could even use fortune as a source of text. However, you need to limit the message to some sensible length, otherwise you'll end up with far too much output and it will wrap around the screen. -S is a short message and -N is defining the length of a short message as 60 characters. Another command that's a bit of fun is lolcat. This gives your text a fabulous rainbow colour effect. So for example,
if I pipe the fortune cookie into lolcat. Pretty awesome. But then I could pipe fortune cookie into cowsay and pump that into lolcat. Another command I like is Archie. What is Archie? Well, Archie is a very simple splash screen with a retro Apple logo. It tells you information about your computer, who you're logged in as, hostname, uptime, and various other things. Again, might not be useful for you, but it could be useful at work, or for a user with a laptop, so if anyone wants to know what their IP address, then it's that simple. Another idea: if your computer isn't near a window, knowing the latest weather forecast might be useful for you. There's a website that provides a simple weather forecast, which also works on the terminal. Change the 1 at the end to return more days, but 1 day is sufficient. But the first day it returns is today's weather forecast. Normally this command works really quickly, but maybe the service is running slow, or you might not even have an internet connection. You don't want it to wait 5 minutes to give you a shell prompt if things have gone wrong. Without -m, curl could potentially cause you to wait up to 5 minutes before giving you a prompt. With -m set to 1 second, that's how long you'd have to wait in the worst case. You could use this principle to have it list statistics, the latest lottery numbers, or anything, if you can find a service that provides it. All these commands could be put into your bash profile, or any combination in any order. There are loads of possibilities. If you find a new command that you think would be of benefit, then let us know in the comments. I'll see you in the next lecture. The thing we've been looking at a lot, but we haven't talked about, is the shell prompt. Where it says, in my case, Mac Pro, and ends with the dollar symbol, that's not very exciting at all. This is the default shell prompt, and is controlled by something called the PS1 shell variable. You can see this by typing echo $PS1. So what can we do with that information? Well, we can do a lot actually. We can set our own prompt inside that variable. We could just use some text that doesn't change, but that's not very useful. If we look at the manual for Bash, one of the things you need to know is escape strings. These control things like new line, single quote, and if you need a backslash, then you'll need to use that as well. You've got others, but these are the ones you'll need to know most often. There are other shell variables. Path is a shell variable, but we've covered that one before. PS1 is a shell variable. Let's just echo some of them now. You've got host name, host type, PWD, or present working directory, OS type. So the PS1 is the initial prompt, and PS2 is when the prompt carries onto the next line, when the prompt spans multiple lines. The Bash manual is very helpful. It will actually explain a lot about what you can and cannot do with Bash. Every time I read it, I learn something new. You've also got if statements. If the day of the week, then do this. An example would be this. Or if this file doesn't exist, or if this file does exist, do something else. In the default Bash prompt, you've got lots of escape characters. /h, which is the host name, or /H for the full host name. You could have time. I had \W, which is the working directory, and I had $, which is either the hash symbol if you're the root user, or $ for everybody else. So how can we use this? What we can do is really go to town customizing our shell prompt, but we'll do that in the next lecture. I'm not the best at making things look pretty, but I can make things look really functional. There is a command that gets you your load average. And what can you do with that? Well, you could pipe it into awk. Basically, that's saying get the second element as the brackets count as an element, so that it'll match the first floating point number. That number is how many tasks your system is trying to execute at one time. As long as that number is less than the number of cores you have in your computer, then you'll be great. I'm going to have at least 4 cores, so that number is well within tolerance. What can I do with that? What I could do is I could put it inside some backticks. Backticks tells the system to execute whatever's within them as a command. Now every time I hit return, I will see what my system load currently is. Maybe I can improve on that. We could then add a username and the computer's hostname. Okay, so that's looking a bit better. Maybe we could add the current date and time. Then a new line with the current working directory. That's starting to feel quite nice. What I'm going to do, whilst I remember, to put the PS1 variable into the bash profile. What else? You could even have it wrapped inside an if statement. With this if statement, we would easily know whether it's the weekend or not, as the emoji will only display the party symbol on a Saturday or Sunday. Remember, always test your new profile in a new tab before you close your current one, just in case you've made a mistake and it causes more problems. So when we run that again, you can see our new starting profile, our new command prompt, which I think looks pretty awesome.